would you agree or disagree that this is the new form of a pacifier?
That's a great question. I think it's even more dangerous than a pacifier because when you take it away, there's something in our minds that like hates it. And like with pacifiers, that's true, right? But usually they get over it pretty quick. Or if you like cut a hole in it, have you seen that?
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm valid to talk about this. I don't got no kids, so but if you like cut it, they lose interest in it.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even if you take it away, there's something that screen time and technology does to us
Hmm.
that it continues to eat away at us, and it almost like they continue to crave it even
Yep.
though we take it away.
Yep.
And I've seen videos of like parents like taking that away and
Oh yeah.
tantrum
Oh
like
yeah.
they wouldn't stop
Oh yeah.
like for like bad, and then as soon as they give it to them, gone.
What's up, guys? It's Josiah. Welcome to the Young Adults Today podcast and channel on YouTube. This is a place where we talk about the faith of the next generation and Gen Z. Today's conversation, Dominic Cerri has been interning with the Young Adults Today ministry and is now a part of the team, joins us for a conversation about the faith of the next generation. And it's been said that nobody is going to reach Gen Z better than Gen Z. So I'm convinced that we will become better and more effective when we invite younger generations to the table sooner to have a say, to have a voice. And I'm a millennial. I've learned so much from Dom, and you will too. Join us for today's conversation. And while you're here, we want to invite you to the West Coast Conference in Southern California. Young Adults Today, we will be there June 5th and 6th at Mariners Church. There'll be roundtable discussions, main sessions, times of worship, prayer, and practical insight on leading the next generation. It won't be the same without you there. And right now, there's a special on the website. Link is in the show notes. Tickets are buy one, get one free right now. So you can bring a mentee. Maybe like me, you're a millennial. Want to encourage you to bring a mentee. Join us in Irvine, California this June 5th and 6th. And one last thing, a lot of you are newer to the conversation. This podcast is growing rapidly, and we want to thank you. And at the same time, if you're one of the viewers on YouTube or listeners who's unsubscribed, subscribe while you're at it, and you will get new doses of leadership dropped to your inbox every Monday to help you start your week off strong. Enjoy today's conversation.
Well, is it Monday, everybody? Yes, already. Here we are. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Young Adults Today podcast. We are so thrilled to have you tuning in today. My name is Micah.
I'm Josiah Kennealy. We're your hosts. Our guest today is from the team, from the Young Adults Today team, our newest teammate and team member, Dominic Cerri. Bro, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be on today. I'm blessed to know you guys, and just to see what you guys are doing is incredible. So
Oh
I'm
man, well,
glad.
we are thrilled to help serve your generation and come alongside you as Gen Z and just see what God's doing in the hearts of not only you, Dominic, but just like your peers and the people you're doing life with and the people you're reaching out to, because you not only work with young adults, necessarily with young adults today, but also you deal with a lot of youth. And what we need to realize is 3 to 4 years, those youth students are going to be on college campuses. They're going to be adulting necessary, that's if you
Yeah.
say anything about that, they're going to be adulting. So we just love the conversation that we're going to lean into today. And yeah, I can't wait to kick it off.
So pumped. And Dominic, where we'd love to start is just share with us and the listener a little bit of your journey of life and yeah, your story.
Yeah. I had a crazy story growing up, kind of looking back and just working through some of the trauma as just looking through my testimony. But I grew up in the church as a young kid. After my dad passed away when I was about 6 years old, I was in this divorce custody. So I would go to some weeks with my mom and then some weeks with my grandparents, almost like my grandparents were acting as like my dad's side. And so my grandparents, full of faith, been saved for decades, since their 20s. And so they're full of faith, and that's what they want for me. So, of course, I'm involved in everything. Sundays, I got the polo and the khakis on. On Wednesdays, I'm doing Royal Rangers. and I'm just fully engulfed in this Christianity in church and everything. And but then when I was at my mom's, it was almost opposite. Sundays were just another day. We started to go to church sometimes, very inconsistent, but no midweeks, nothing like that. And it wasn't forced or it wasn't even pushed. It wasn't even suggested. It was just kind of, oh, like, are we gonna go? No, okay. And so there's two very different, it's like polar opposites almost at such a young age and such a defining moments in my life where I need to make decisions for myself. And so I found myself almost piggybacking off of my grandparents' faith. And I think we see that a lot. And so what ended up happening is because I saw this faith only through my grandparents, I didn't have a faith of my own. And so I started to live in the world and I started to almost not want to go to church at all. And so I actually started to live with my mom more, not because of any specific reason, but almost just because I didn't want to go to church on Sunday. Just because I was like, I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm just going to church to be there. Like, there's no like purpose for me to be there. And so it was very lukewarm faith. My actions were definitely worldly. Just like my heart posture was worldly towards people. I was not like I hated people. I didn't love people. I like gossiped, like everything. And but at the same time, I would defend Christ. Like, are you kidding me? Like looking back and just kind of like seeing and looking at myself, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like you are defending Christ, representing Christ, yet your actions are horrible. And so the love of God was, I didn't encounter the love of God yet, really. But that kind of all changed. I kept going to church just as a lukewarm Christian, not pursuing, didn't read my Bible much, barely prayed, nothing like that. And so then I started to go to church and youth group finally because we moved churches and so we were able to go to youth group now because our old church didn't even have a youth group. And so then we got to go to youth camp at Lake Geneva up in Minnesota here. So I was at this service late at night and I'm like, God, I don't know like what you want to do with my life. I know I have a passion for business, entrepreneurship, like this is what I want to do. And I think it'd be great. I think it'd be awesome. I have many business ideas and everything like that. But he was like, it was very clear. I was thinking about ministry and I heard an audible voice say, you can do it from
Wow.
behind me. And I'm like, what in the world? So I started pursuing that, fell away. That was my junior year. Senior year, I'm like, okay, gotta get back into this. But that was after this. I went to a worship night and somebody prophesied over me about this calling. And I'm like, wait, this sounds familiar. I'm like, I know I heard this somewhere. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's all full circle. And so then I started to pursue again, fell away, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I need to put myself in a community, in a place where I actually can't run from my calling. And so that's where I decided to jump into North Central here. As soon as I came here, I just felt a peace about it. And I saw the community, I saw the people, what they were doing. And I'm like, that's where I need to be because I know if I start to fall away, there's going to be people there to hold me accountable. And so that's what I did. I jumped in to North Central, really developed my theology, still am developing my theology. And I'm still just pursuing and listening to what God has for me. But that's kind of where I'm at today. That's a snippet of my testimony. So,
I love it.
Well, that's so good. Dominic, thank you so much for sharing. And even bits of your story. I bet a lot of the listeners tuning in today can relate to that,
For
whether
sure.
it's a divorce home, a loss in a family, kind of going back and forth, riding on the coattails of the faith of another family member, living a lukewarm, like I'm heaven minded, but I'm earthly serving my pleasures of my flesh, like, and just developing their faith along the way. And then I love that you said, I realized by the third time I had to get plugged into a community that was going to hold me accountable. And I think even whether you're listening as a pastor or as a ministry leader or a volunteer, or maybe just a young adult tuning in today, I think we can all get into some funk along the way where our faith does start to waver. Like our time with God doesn't look the same. The people we surround ourselves, we start to become. And maybe we look in the mirror at the end of a season and we're like, how in the world did I get here? So even just realizing that we as ministry leaders are responding to the calling, which we are going to be held at a higher level of judgment someday before Jesus and some like before the Lord, of really looking at like, wow, I'm not only accountable to the people I've surrounded myself with on this side of eternity, but there's accountability in heaven that's taking place.
Yeah.
So we can't take that lightly. Like, we're not going to play God, obviously, but we can't take the calling lightly when God has placed it so heavy on our heart. So I would say for the person tuning in who's like, who cares about the faith of the next generation? Or like, we don't have a young adult ministry, or youth is thriving. We were all together last night at the Called
Call
conference,
conference. Yeah.
and here in the Minneapolis area, and there were 700 middle schoolers to high schoolers that have some type of calling on their life. They're kind of discovering it, like God has spoken something along the way. And I look at those 700, I was like, we need every single one of them to be active in their faith, in the calling, and whether it's missions, church, or business, I don't care. Like, and God can use amazing things. But how would you encourage the person listening today? Or like from your perspective, maybe even more so, like, why is young adult ministry so vital? Because we see two drop-offs. One is their senior year of high school, and two is right when they hit their career after college. Like, those are the two drop-offs. So how would you answer that question from your perspective as a young adult yourself?
Yeah, I was kind of just thinking about Gen Z as a whole, and I kind of was given these two words, and I kind of kept thinking about it. I got three words that kind of describe, they all start with C. So if you're a pastor listening, like that's awesome, right? But
Alliteration.
yes, and so it's three things that Gen Z as a whole we crave. And so I was thinking about this. I'm like, what do I crave? What have I craved? What does my generation crave? The first one is we crave connection. And then the second one, we crave community. And then the third one is we crave to create. And so young adult ministries actually give us a way to thrive in each and every one of these areas. And if you're looking at like other places that young adults are seeking to fill these areas, you'll see that they're filling it in an unhealthy way. We see bars, a lot of young adults are at bars. That's community, right? They're craving community. Where can they find it easily? Right there. College sororities, you wonder why so many people are drawn to the different houses and the different sororities. There's connection, there's community, not in a healthy way, but there is that there. And then the gym is it can become unhealthy, but also it can be a healthy outlook. Um, for some people, it's can be a good community, can be a good connection point. And then social media too, connection, community. We go into that, and so most of these are unhealthy or can become unhealthy. And so with young adult ministry, it's so vital for us because it's creating a space and a place for us to do all three of those things, but in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're doing it in a healthy way, we're actually growing. Unhealthy, it's actually not growing us at all. It's actually hurting us. And
Mm-hmm.
so, what I kind of broke down these three. So connection, it's like I was thinking about, I'm like, okay, connection. Our whole lives as Gen Zers, we've been connected.
For
Like
sure.
social media
Yep.
being the biggest thing for us, right?
Yeah.
Since I was a young kid till now, like
What age and what app was your first social media, Dominic?
I think probably Snapchat
Okay.
or Instagram.
Okay.
Um, honestly, or Vine, if anyone remembers
Sure.
Vine.
I remember Vine.
Um, there
I'm too
wasn't
young to
like
remember that.
that wasn't like that was more like a TikTok,
Yep. Was
rather
that
Oh
than
like
like
yeah.
2011?
Okay, totally remember that. Yeah.
so yeah, I was legit 7 years old when that came
7
out.
years old. Okay.
So I was probably about 8 or 9,
Mm-hmm.
I would assume. When I've been connected for what, like 13 years now? That's insane just by
Mm-hmm.
media. So our whole lives as Gen Zers, since we were kids, like we've been connected some way. And to be honest, like social media, what was the whole goal of it? Was because to become more social. It's in the title, more social media. But in reality, what has it done? As we've seen the long-term effects, we see that we actually lose all of our social abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So social media was intended to grow our social abilities, but in reality, what has it done? Lost all of our social abilities. not a good
Well,
investment for us.
you're
Mm-hmm.
dead on the money, Dominic. In our experience, we led a campus ministry at a community college for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And because higher education is being disrupted, so many students are online or hybrid, where, it's asynchronous, different things like that. Literally, Mike and I were like 6 months a year into campus ministry, and we were like, oh my word, the thing that these students need as college students is lacking on this campus is in their very name.
Mm-hmm.
And it parallels with social media. It's
Mm-hmm.
missing the social part. It's just media. And the community college, if it's only online
There's
or
no community.
there's no community. So,
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I actually did a paper on, I think it was like social or like some like effects of social media or something like that for a class within teens. And so there's this Yale medicine um, statistic, if you will, that they did a research study on American teens ages 12 to 15. And what they found was that social media was used over 3 hours each day. So if they use 3 hours each day, whoever between 12 and 15, they face twice the risk of having negative mental health outcomes.
mm,
So if it was over 3 hours, that's like almost average now.
mm,
I would say that's even low.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say double
Um,
that for most
yeah.
young adults.
So it's like, okay, if they're facing twice the risk at 3 hours, and we've doubled that, how
Wow.
much more are we facing now of negative outcomes of screen time, of no social, like physical social aspect,
Mm-hmm.
like it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, Dominic,
I
I love
bet
that you say that. Like, there's a fun stat. So, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm like, I think this is good for if you're a parent listening. For every 1 hour you allow your child to watch television, their ability to socially engage in person, whether it's eye contact, body language, using words, being active in conversation, goes down 10% for every hour they're exposed to in a day.
Yikes.
So if you sit and say, like, my kid's on the TV, like, well, only like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, I'm like, that's a half a work day. That's
Yep.
4 hours, which decreases their ability to socially engage by 40%. So I'm just like, 40%, that's big. But even talking about your stats and the mental capacity, 3 hours, well, probably double that, if not triple that for some young adults because they're so isolated and they're not feeling that connection through physical contact, but they're feeling connected through a screen.
right. And I just saw a reel, and this family is like out to dinner, whatever it may be, and they're talking to their kid, like perfect. It's a normal conversation. This kid's probably about 3 years old, maybe four, and they're talking to her, where she's responding like it's great, she's happy, and then they bring out a phone and they put in front of her, and she just locks in. Like
Mm-hmm.
they try saying her name, they try asking her if she wants ice cream. What kid doesn't want ice cream? Nothing. And I'm like, I was literally watching this like yesterday, and I'm like, this is scary. This is really scary because especially as my generation becomes parents,
Mm-hmm.
like we're more apt to like give our kids screen time because that's what we're used to. But in
Yeah.
reality, it's hurting them like really bad. It's just it's horrible. I saw that video and I was just like, wow, this is crazy.
Would you
Like
say that screen time on on anything, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a phone, whatever, putting it in front of maybe Gen Z or the Alpha generation, would you agree or disagree that this is the new form of a pacifier?
that's a great question. I think it's even more dangerous than a pacifier because when you take it away, there's something in our minds that like hates it. And like with pacifiers, that's true, right? But usually they get over it pretty quick. Or if you like cut a hole in it, have you seen that?
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm valid to talk about this. I don't got no kids, so but if you like cut it, they lose interest in it.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think even if you take it away, there's something that screen time and technology does to us
Hmm.
that it continues to eat away at us, and it almost like they continue to crave it even
Yep.
though we take it away.
Yep.
And I've seen videos of like parents like taking that away and tantrum and
Oh yeah.
tantrum.
Oh
Like
yeah.
they wouldn't stop.
Oh yeah.
Like for like bad. And then as soon as they give it to them, gone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's even more dangerous than a pacifier. I think it has the same concept for sure. And it's almost, I think it's just lazy parenting, to be
For
honest.
sure.
Yes.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I don't want to play with my kid. Oh, like watch Bluey or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like go sit on the couch and do that. Like I just think it's lazy parenting because it's like, I don't know. And then if as parents in the Bible, it talks about us being people being the shepherd, right? You are the shepherd of your children. And like, are you actually shepherding them or are you letting technology, are you letting games on your phone and are you letting Mickey Mouse shepherd your kids?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I think yeah, it's it's hard. It's hard to watch unfold,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
And like even just to see it now, like from my perspective as somebody who doesn't have kids, like I can see it and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that. Like I don't want a tablet for my kid. They don't get
Mm-hmm.
to see my phone. Like I don't want that. And
So
so
good.
it's
That's
scary too
wisdom.
because schools
Yep.
are like including iPads even
Right.
younger. I think
Right.
Yeah.
I was in sixth grade when we
Yep.
had iPads.
Yep.
We couldn't bring them home, but they were at school. That was my
Hmm.
first exposure. I was in sixth grade. I can't even imagine what the grade is now that they keep them at school or they're in front of screens or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just scary. It's
Yeah.
scary for sure. Um, but then community, so that was connection. And so community, every young adult obviously is craving this community. You talk to young adults who are church hopping or looking for a church, what are they looking for? Community. They're
Yeah.
looking for a church that would develop them
Mm-hmm.
and have somebody they can just talk to and like become friends with. Um, and obviously, like I said, that most young adults try to meet this need in the wrong ways. But I just like to imagine and think like, what if every church had a ministry
Beautiful.
that could provide for that need in a healthy way? Um, I even like to think of it as simple as a Bible study. You don't have to do anything extravagant. Like me and my friend, a personal example, a few summers ago, we saw a need within our friend group and amongst men. And we're like, we want to start a Bible study. And we started off with 5 guys. And we're like, this is awesome. This is great. We make food, we connect. It's awesome. And then we read the Bible and we talk about it. We dive into it. It was awesome. The first one was 4 hours long. It was
Oh,
crazy. It was only three of us, but it was crazy. And then this last summer, it grew to 25 people being in the group chat.
Amazing.
We averaged around 10 to 11. And so we're looking to continue that. But it's as simple as that. These people, young adults, are craving community, and it's simple. Provide some food. Everybody loves food, and have a Bible study. That's great. Have some prayer at the end. What are you going through? How can we be there for you? Your group chat turns into a prayer room,
mm-hmm.
right? It's like it's awesome, and it's so simple. The word is there. Maybe you have to do some research, be a good steward of the word and look at the context and all that good stuff, but like it's worth it. And
Yeah.
so I would say just like if your church doesn't have a young adults community or a young adult ministry, just make one. And it can be as simple as a Bible study or it can be as big as a service, right? So dream it up. Like that's what I like to say. Dream it up, create the community because you see a need. Don't just leave the church. Like actually like you want to be a steward of where you're at. And if you see that need, you want to meet that need. And so it's easy. Just create a Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
And
Good.
then to create is not necessarily like we're making something, but like to serve, right? Young adults want to serve.
For
They
sure.
want to have freedom in a
Hmm.
role that is given to them. It's
Hmm.
not like here's your role and now you're gonna get put in a box, but we actually want ability to like try something and fail. And then it's easy to do that if we have a young adults ministry because we can put them on greeting team. We can put them on media team. I remember when I was first learning media, the pastor came to me and he's like, "Here's a camera, go shoot." I had never touched a camera in my life.
I love
I
it.
was scared. I'm like, "How do I do this?" But he said, "You're probably gonna take 600 photos today, and that's okay. That's what I want you to do." And he's like, "We're gonna look through all the photos. I'm gonna show you what you did good, what you can improve on, how to shift these things, how to edit." And it's like he gave me a space to fail,
Hmm.
but also a space to learn. And he did so in a way that was maybe not as beneficial for him, right? He had to actually sacrifice himself. It was more time to go through 600 photos than 200, and then to edit and show me how to edit. And so sometimes it's a sacrifice to us, but oftentimes that's where the young adults want to be, and that's where they can grow the most.
Love
And
it.
so those are like the three things that I kind of had thought of, and I was like, okay, this is so true. And Sunday service is great for these things, right? Serve at your local church. That's awesome. But I also think that there's so much power when 18 to 30-year-olds meet together, not a whole separate church, part of the church, but as another meeting to relate to each other, to see what each other is going through, even like speak wisdom into each other.
Hmm.
And it's so powerful. So those are my thoughts.
Dominic, those three things that Gen Z is craving, I really agree from my vantage point of connection, unquestionably, community, absolutely. Life is hard to do alone, and people are longing for friends. They're hardwired by God for that longing of these are good things to want. And then altruism, desire to make a difference.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And, really looking at the spiritual and the relational needs of young adults, I think it could be really highlighted as young adults have the deepest need, the greatest miracle is salvation, the relationship with our Heavenly Father, that spiritual God-sized hole that nothing else can fill, right? And they're looking everywhere to fill that hole, fill that need. And then really, I think the pathway, the gateway, the on-ramp to the spiritual need is those relational needs. And, whenever I'm a millennial, and so whenever we're going to have, I would say to anyone my age or older, I'd really challenge you with this. Anytime you're going to have conversations about Gen Z, about Gen Alpha, include them. Dominic's perspective has added so much. I think we're about 5 weeks, 6 weeks into your internship
Yeah.
being on the team, and you've brought such a Gen Z perspective. It's added so much value
Hmm.
of really giving us a real-time perspective of what your generation is craving. And so maybe you're a senior leader, a parent, a grandparent, a board member, an elder, a deacon, a pastor, a leader, somebody who's in a church, maybe you're Gen X, baby boomer, millennial like myself. Even for Dominic, I'd always challenge younger. You're never too young to include the next generation or to
Hmm.
invest in the
That's
next
good.
generation. And so I'd just say anytime you're talking about the next generation, include them. And there's value in every voice. We're all smarter than one of us. And Dominic, give us a minute like overview of the young adult ministry you're involved in presently.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's I've been involved in other young adult ministries as well. Some bigger, some like in the middle, and then smaller. And so I'm involved in one right now that's at Zoe Church, and it's awesome. It's a whole different outlook on young adult ministry. So what happens is we do our mission is to be it's like discipleship based. And so our whole goal is based around the whole service, if you will, is based around our small groups. We really just want to push people into small groups, and Jackson does a great job of that. When he preaches, he'll keep it short, 15, 20 minutes, and really just push people into small groups. And so it's been great. So we just have community time, have a word, some prayer, in small groups, and it's been awesome. Recently, I've been pushed into a role of like the leader, if you will, for the men that are like young adult age and single. And it's definitely been, it was kind of just like I just got pushed into it one day. One of the leaders didn't show up, and Jackson was like, okay, you guys are gonna go with Dom. And I'm like, oh no. But it's been so cool to be able to lead them in discussion and to really pick at these young adult men's single brains to see really what they're going through and how they took the message and how they're relating it. And so it's been really cool to just be a part of that. It's been awesome. It's been growing. Um, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. So
It's incredible. And I see a hunger. I see literally 2025 as we record. So many churches, Dominic, Micah, are starting young adult ministries real time right now.
Hmm.
Many are relaunching or just like we talk to so many lead pastors and maybe they're seeing, whoa, my kids are young adults now. And they've been a part of kids, and we've got a great kids ministry. We've been a part of youth, and we've got a great youth program and discipleship. And now they're their own kids or grandkids. Sometimes it's like they're young adults and now they're saying like, wow, what about us, mom and dad? Like we're desperate for miracles from God. We want to grow in our faith. And
Hmm.
I was talking with a pastor and his wife last night, and they've seen 30 new college students since the first of the year. It's February 17th. They saw 7 salvations of
Hmm.
first-time college students. And sometimes a pastor will say, like, well, Josiah, do we even really need young adult ministry? And I go, well, wouldn't you want that? Like, you have an opportunity to reach the
Hmm.
next generation, but disciple them, lead them, invest in them, bless them, send them, mentor them, help guide them, help direct them, pour into them, love them, serve them. Like, isn't that what you would want?
Hmm.
And so, man, one of the things that Carrie Newhoff is saying is that right now, and we see it with Unite Us. I don't know if the listener has seen this, but like with Jenny Allen and Jonathan Pokluda and um, Tanya Pruitt and others, there
Hmm.
is like these stadium gatherings. A lot of times it's in the South at SEC schools, but they've seen 5 to 10,000 people gather at each campus, get spontaneously water baptized, confess their sin.
Yeah.
Like Gen Z is in revival, and that's what Carey Nieuwhof is saying is he's like Gen Z is both in revival, but it's also in retreat. And part of what he means is like there's these stadium gatherings, there's these mass decisions, mass water baptisms, hunger,
Hmm.
revival, but then some of Gen Z is in retreat. Like church attendance isn't really up right now with Gen Z, it's down. And so do you have thoughts on that? What are you seeing? Do you agree, disagree, push back, add a caveat? Would love to hear what your vantage point is, Dominic.
yeah, and we had the digital conference a few weeks ago, and one of the things Pastor Alan Walter said is that Gen Z is the most reachable generation, right?
Yeah.
And we see that in our stadium gatherings, right? That we're reaching out. But also, I think I feel confident enough to say that Gen Z is also the most like spiritual generation.
Hmm.
In the sense of Christianity, yes, but also in other senses where they're seeking this hunger for something and they're open to a lot of things. And so that's where I think revival is really taking place is because they've maybe tried these other things and they've gone these other places and they've tried the tarot cards and the crystals, right? I see that so much in my generation, like them seeking after these things, wearing it as a necklace, saying, "This is what makes me happy." But in reality, when something goes wrong, they realize that that's not what was making them happy. And so it's funny that that they said this that we're both in revival and retreat because it's almost two polar opposites. But to be honest, in my opinion, we see the ones in revival either have some really faith-filled friends that are willing to go out on the extra limb, go the extra mile to bring them and to for them to experience the love of God, or they've already been living a testimony, like a living testimony of Jesus and like showing the love of God that they're like, I want that.
Hmm.
But then at the same time, I think the ones in retreat either just haven't experienced God's love at all, or they're stuck in something, or honestly, what I've really seen is that they've maybe been exposed to a misrepresentation of Jesus.
Mm,
So they're running, they're
hmm.
retreating because they're like, I see what's going on, but that's not the Jesus that I was taught, and it was misrepresented to them. And so it's kind of sad, to be honest, because it's just like you see all these people going to. I mean, I think about the Send and Passion, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, like Arrowhead Stadium was like filled for the Send. And then you think about Passion just like a month ago,
Hmm.
filled. Like all these places are being filled. And even Asbury Revival, right? Like
Right.
a few years ago, like filled. Like this is crazy. Lines waiting to get in. But at the same time, it's like our generation is like, no, I'm gonna do it myself, or I'm gonna seek other options because they've been misrepresented. And a quote from one of my mentors, John O'Gates, he said that we often rely too much on our gifts and not on our fruit.
That's
And so
good.
I think that that's true here too. I think a lot of people are trying to rely on their gifts so much that they're actually retreating without them even knowing. And the ones in revival are actually seeking out the fruits of the Spirit and living that out. And so when they're living that out, they're living godly lives. They're encountering God daily. They're encountering God at these stadiums. The presence of God is there. And then the ones that are retreating, they're relying almost on their own gifts, right? Their own abilities, their own skills. And so they're like, I can do it on my own, and I'm just gonna go this way. So that's kind of my thoughts on the revival and retreat, which is insane to me just to even think about. I had never heard of that quote, but looking at it and like really thinking about it, I'm like, that's so true. Because we're very different. There's not really anybody in the middle.
Hmm.
It's like I read a book, oh goodness, I forgot what it's called. But they talk about the like we're in this religion of the nuns, not
Yeah.
N-U-N,
Yeah.
but N-O-N-E.
Hmm.
Yep.
Nothing. We don't believe in anything. We're
No
not
religious affiliation, nothing in particular.
Hmm.
right. And so it's like we're not even in the middle because we like these people, they don't believe in anything. We're either we believe it or it's just like nothing. And so that's it's really cool to see that comparison too within my generation.
Well, I think if we really take a look at that as leaders or pastors or whatever tuning in today, like we are in a pivotal moment of history
Wow.
where we have an opportunity as faith-filled believers to start seeing the people who are in retreat and show them what does following Christ actually look like?
Yeah.
What does being a Christian actually mean? And how do we actually live that out in our daily life without having that holier than thou approach, like as a pastor or as a leader? And I think that it starts with love. Like we need to learn how to love those people. Like they're running for a reason, right? Let's not be the reason they're running.
So good.
And I think so many times it is church hurt. It's a
Yeah.
pastoral hurt. It's a pastor left and they didn't feel seen or believed in after that. It's some mentorship that dissolved or kind of just, you know, ended, or it's somebody moved out and moved on and they feel left behind. So it's like abandonment issues or traumas and triggers when it comes to leadership within the church because not everybody stays planted forever. And a lot of the times we use a position in ministry as a stepping stone as, instead of turning to God as like the cornerstone. Like, Lord, how long will you have me planted here? Versus how long do I have to be here to get to where I want to actually be and go? So it's
Yeah.
like, I think it's an evaluation in our leadership to say, like, hey, we have them actually right where we want them. Let's disciple the people to make disciples who are on fire for God, who are not in retreat, so they can reach the people who are retreating, who are running, and there will be some form of a contagious um, community and opportunity for them to step into as we create spaces, as we provide opportunities for young people. And speaking of opportunities, like for the person tuning in who is generations above you, maybe they're lead pastors, maybe they're, just trying to figure out, do we want a young adult ministry? Do we not want a young adult ministry? What is one thing you wish every older leader knew? So you're 20, so 21 and older. What do you wish every older leader knew about young adulting in 2025?
I think they have to understand like what happened to us in a sense. So if you think about this, 2020 hits. We're in high school, most of us. COVID happens, quarantine happens. We're inside. What do we do? We go to social media, we go to video games, and we go to online sources. And so, like I was saying before, all we know is technology, but all we know is also laziness, right? Because we were forced inside. And so, what I think every older leader should know is like, be patient with us. Give us a chance though. And like actually teach us and guide us through this process as we jump from like one extreme to another, as we jump from laziness to hard work, as we jump from like not having commitment issues to dedication. And so, but be there with us. But know also when to release us so that we can learn on our own and we can have that freedom like I was talking about earlier. Because if you are just constantly being there by our side, we're just gonna rely on you. We're gonna be dependent on you. We're not gonna have that independency, and then your expectations are gonna be too high, but in reality, it's you that's holding on. And so if you would let us go, we would almost meet those expectations with time, of course. But I would just say, like, give us a chance. Like, I think a lot of older people are hesitant to hire a young person with no experience. But if you think about it long term, you're able to train up this person, guide them, and then you get to see the fruits of that.
Hmm.
And so it's really cool. And um I just think that if older leaders would give us a chance, I think it'd really cool.
It's great
Yeah.
insight.
I want you to picture that you are a shoe salesman for a minute, okay?
Okay.
You with me?
I'm a shoe saleswoman for a minute.
There we go.
That's hard.
Okay.
That's a mouthful for
A
me.
shoe salesperson, and you have a territory. And let's just say for a second, you're with Tom's and you're going to one of the remote villages. Let's just pick a continent, Africa, and you're going to go there where people play soccer. And I've been to not Africa, but other places in the world where it's like kids play soccer, they're happy, they're barefoot. So let's say you go to that village and you are a shoe salesman with Tom's, and everyone there is happy, they're content, and they kind of don't know what they're missing and they don't have shoes. You kind of have two choices. One is to complain about them, talk about how clueless they are. You could talk about how you'll never sh sell any shoes there, how they'll never be, it's not a viable option. Or you could put in an order for the exact head count of the population there and be like, look, everyone here needs shoes. I just need actually some more models. I need some more trainers. I need some more people who are going to
Hmm.
fit people for shoes. We're going to look at people's gaits. We're going to analyze how they walk, how they run. We're going to get fitted and help them get fitted with shoes. And it's kind of like that with the next generation. You can look at something Micah just said is that we've got them right where we want them. Your words carry weight as a leader. So from your pulpit, from your blog, from your messages, from your one-on-one conversations, from the meetings that you're having with about for the next generation, are the words that you're speaking life, encouragement, building up, or tearing down, criticizing? I think that it's crazy. Our friend Manny, he was just sharing about kids ministry. And he had these quotes about the next generation. And it sounded like they were from a textbook of like 2024, 2025.
Bless you.
Excuse me, I just sneezed. But he pulled up the dates and they were like from President Eisenhower. And
1927.
yeah,
I'm looking.
24, 26, 30. And it's like people have been criticizing younger generations for decades,
Hmm.
for actually centuries. Maybe since the beginning of time, we criticize what we don't understand. So I want us to lead the way and to call up
Hmm.
and to call out. Micah, talk about what's the difference between calling out and calling up?
I think calling out is like, I'm going to call you out in love,
Hmm.
but but I'm gonna call you up in truth.
Yeah.
Meaning that my heart is pure for you. Like I see something in you, like I want to call you out, but I'm also going to turn to the word of God and like call you up
To
to a higher
greatness.
standard
Yes.
of living, a higher
Yes.
standard of expectation, learning how to build friendships, relationships, live above reproach. Think about the consequences of the decisions that you're making. And just to kind of piggyback off a little bit of what Josiah is saying here, it reminds me of the Bible story. I think what if we could look at the Bible when they send out the spies to spy the land.
Whoa.
And
Joshua
is
and
it 10
Caleb.
and 12?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
10 of them come back and they're like,
Yeah.
there's giants, and they're freaking out. They're like, this is not a good idea. And the other two come back and Joshua and Caleb like, yes, they're giants, but we didn't like they didn't encounter anything bad with them. Their observation was very different. And I think that that story comes to my mind when we look at the next generation. It's like
Have
they're
a
here to
different
take
spirit.
over the world and they don't know what they're doing. Or we could say, like, hey, there's so much creativity, there's so much flame, fire that we could help them fan into flame what God might have in them to do good works for God's kingdom and not to like rob God of the glory or like build their own kingdom, but to help them channel the time, the talents, and treasures that God has given them and to give them a chance in the process and to come alongside them. And when the training wheels come off, like, I feel like our daughters are learning how to ride bike, this last summer. It's like both training wheels are on, helmets are on, mom and dad are there, and the more confident they get, the less I have to be by their side. Probably this summer, maybe one of their training wheels, like or one of our daughter's training wheels, might come off. And yes, you could fall. Yep, you could go head over heels on the handlebars. You could scrape up your knees. But I think that's what we need to do is we need to trust that generation is just as gritty as the people who have gone before us. It just might look a little different. And if we could be the parents or the cheerleaders or like the disciplers and mentors along the sides, just like cheering them on and like, yes, you got this, like, go, go, versus like, yeah, I'm gonna take your training wheels off, but I'm still gonna run beside you and hold onto your seat. Like that's the holding back, right? And that is the fear, I think, of a generation or generations who have gone before us to pass the torch because they don't know if they can trust. But it's like spend time with a generation to understand that you can trust and you can let go. So I just think of the story of the spies and just, I don't know, a bicycle, I guess, comes to my mind in some of the conversation that we're having today.
Dom, what about any other things on your heart for your generation?
Yeah, and kind of going off still that the older leaders, I think one of the things, one verse that like really is used almost a lot. It is used a lot. First Timothy 4:12, right? Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. And it's like that's talking to us as young people, but that's also speaking to the older people because it's saying how like you're not actually supposed to look down on us. And what I've seen a lot and actually experienced is that the older generation is that's all they're doing. Oh, your generation's this. Your generation's lazy. Your generation's stuck in your phones. Your generation sucks. All this stuff. But it's like, wait, like teach us, guide us. And like, of course, we're gonna look different. We're different generations. Like, yes, we grew up different times. We grew up with different resources. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna let you look down upon me, but you shouldn't even be looking down upon me because of my age. Um, and then in verse 14, it just says, "Do not neglect your gift, which you have been given to you through prophecy." It's like we all have gifts as young people, but like we need discipleship and we need mentorship for or from these older generations to really dive into our gifts and really expand on them and grow them. And so my heart really is like number one, I think on my heart is like seek mentorship. And it can be hard. I struggled with it for years, seeking out older generations, nobody wanting to give me the time of day.
Hmm.
But if you're just persistent, God is going to bless that.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, and like continue to be bold. I think we are a bold generation. It's just how our DNA has kind of sit in. But like just continue to be bold and continue to um, have that drive for curiosity and boldness and all that. Um, but also like defy the stereotypes that's been put on us. We've always been so like ready to like go against anything said about us. And so it's like continue to do that because a lot of times the stereotypes are bad. All I've heard about Gen Z from other people or from statistics is like we're bad. or like we're not good. But sometimes it's like we're the most what I see the other day. We're like the last generation people are going to talk about. And
Hmm.
so it's like I don't know, it's just like a lot of different things, but like I would just say like for my generation, my heart is like to continue to defy these stereotypes of laziness, of like not wanting to work and all this different stuff. But also not only just to defy them and meet this bar that has been put on us, but also to exceed that bar and to say we're actually going to go above and beyond, above this standard, above what you put over us, and we're going to just go the extra mile. And like one of the things that kind of came to my head was like I want older generations to say we never thought you guys would do that, and like that's my dream, right? We never thought you guys would do that. We thought you guys could never do that like at all. But you guys did it. And so it's really cool. And I'm excited for our generation to keep growing into adulthood and just to see where that kind of goes.
Yeah. I think the amazing thing, what I've seen about your generation is you are the most cause-driven generation.
For sure.
Social justice, getting behind things that matter, wanting to see, if I can be bold, let's say like world peace. You know what I mean? Like you guys
Yeah.
desire to see that those forms of justice in your lifetime.
Yep.
And I would just encourage, like, yeah, don't let the generations like look down on you because you're young. There's something there for both, like older and younger, but
Yep.
also being mindful, like I'm challenging the older listener, like I am, Dominic is, Josiah is, anybody in millennials, like we as millennials, we were told that we are entitled. You're entitled. You're entitled. That was the word that was over millennials. But I sat back and was thinking, I was like, you know what? We are all a byproduct of somebody else's fruit who's gone before us. So whatever generation you want to knock, I'm just saying there's generations who've gone before us. I'm standing on the shoulders and I have to ask, is it fruitful or is it wasteful? And how is the heart of the generation? Like we meet so many older people that are so sweet and they're just like, I'm so excited that young adults are doing something. I'm so excited that you guys care about young adults. Like the grandparents see this extreme void, in the life. But I'm also like, okay, how do we love and respect the people who've gone before us, knowing that they made choices that maybe if we were in that position, we would have thought differently, born in a different era,
Hmm.
and it's not, I think if we could look at it as like, you know what, God has put us all here, the families we were born into, the year was what we were where we were born, where we were born, the year we were born, the country we were born in, like that was all strategic and that was all for a reason. And I think if we can sit back and like, I'm going to learn how to love, respect, honor, and appreciate any generation because we're never too old to learn and we're never too young to teach. So it's really like it should be this beautiful exchange of saying like we need each other
Yeah.
versus us versus them, your generation and our generation. Yeah, we might look different, but I love how you said like seek to understand, like seek to understand, ask questions, be intrigued, like tell me more about that, versus saying that is the stupidest thing I ever heard. Like
Hmm.
that's not helpful. Help me to
Yeah.
understand. Like I would love to learn more about how you
Yeah.
guys think and operate. Like I think the older generation can teach us how to be less busy and pull back and enjoy the mundane. But I think like the younger generations challenge the older generations to think differently in a sense of you have the world at your fingertips when it comes to social media, creativity, whatever that is. And I just think that there is this beautiful opportunity to be like, let's dream bigger and we're stronger together. Because if we come at each other as generations, whether we believe in young adults, seniors, fill in the blank, we're actually, if we're not on the same, like recognizing that we're on the same team and playing well together, we are doing the enemy's job for him.
100%.
So you're like, wow, the enemy doesn't have to do anything. He's just to walk away and be like, you're 75 and you're 17. Okay, now figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, that's not that's not how we want to be as a church, but I think that's how it can feel. And when we start doing that, I'm like, wow, we're just doing the enemy's job for him. Like we all love Jesus. Like, let's agree to disagree on some things of how we might be able to handle or process, but let's seek to understand the why behind the reasoning sometimes. I don't know.
So good. You know how I think we do it?
How do we do
You
it?
know how I think we grow in honor and mutual respect for generations and really link arms intergenerationally? I think we become lifelong learners.
Hmm.
At every age and stage, you become a lifelong learner. And you know what I think you do? You realize that sometimes a leader is going to teach you what you should do. And I think sometimes a leader is going to model what not to do. And if you will learn and embrace both,
Mm,
you will learn twice as much.
that's good.
So, man,
It's a great conversation.
such a good conversation. Dominic, are you cool if we close with 5 minutes on the clock, go a little bit
Sure.
rapid fire, and we'll throw 5 minutes on the clock. We'll ask you 5 questions for the 5 and 5.
Let's do it.
All right. Number one, what is your dream in a sentence?
Okay. My dream is to see the next generation so on fire for Jesus like we've never seen it before.
Love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Dominic, what about a favorite book that you've recently read that every leader should know about?
Oh my gosh. Okay. There's this book. I actually read it for a class, but I fell in love with it. It's called Who Needs Theology?
Ooh.
And it's by Roger Olson and Stanley Grenz. It is a phenomenal book. Um, it's all wrapped around that question because a lot of times people think that theology is just for pastors or people in the church, but in reality, the main idea of this book is that theology is for everyone. And so it's a good read. It's not too difficult, and it's also very practical. So I love that book. I would suggest it to anybody, any leader, even pastors.
Awesome. I wrote it down. I literally wrote it down. All right. So, question number three. If you could ask Josiah and myself any question today, what would you want to know or what would you want the viewer to hear today?
I would say like what is the key to longevity either in your family life or even in like ministry in itself? What is the key to longevity?
Do you want to go first or second?
Man, I don't know if I'm like humbled that you'd even ask because I think we're like we haven't
We're just getting
ascended.
started.
Yeah, like maybe we're a step ahead or a season or two beyond, but I really feel in my heart and spirit and bones, Lord willing, we're just getting going.
Mm,
But I am often reminded of something that Angela Duckworth says in her
Hmm.
book Grit. Enthusiasm is common, but endurance is rare. And I think endurance is a mix of training. It's a mix of resilience that you are going to get knocked down sometimes,
Hmm.
but there is this persistence, this perseverance, this unwillingness to give up, the stick with itness to not quit, to never give up, to never back down, to not stop. And I think beginning with the end in mind is what we've attempted to do at a younger age. It's
Hmm.
what we attempt to do now. We were just with Pastor Denny Curran. He's seen many miracles
Hmm.
in his life, and he boiled it down to prayer and fasting. And in hearing his responses, I think there was another thing is he just determined to never give up. There was a lot of times he could have quit, he could have stopped. And I was reminded last week, a friend told me on the phone, like, Josiah, you're a few years into young adults today, but remember when like you almost didn't have enough money to pay your mortgage? Like, remember that. And I think it's really easy to forget
Hmm.
the moments, the almost dropout moments, the almost, but if God wouldn't have showed up. And I think that we all want the miracles, but do you realize that to experience a miracle, things have to look pretty bleak
Hmm.
and you got to be pretty desperate. And at the same time, just like gonna hold on, gonna keep going.
Yeah, I would say in addition to beginning with the end in mind, we had a friend when we first started, I think we were still doing Chi Alpha at the time, actually. And he said, like, Mike and Josiah, like, don't despise small beginnings.
Yeah.
Like, I just go back to that often of like, don't despise small beginnings because God's going to grow what he wants to grow. What we feed grows, what we starve dies. And I think keeping that in mind too, like, are you feeding your faith? Are you feeding your soul? Are you surrounding yourself with friendships? Your family members? Do you have intentional date nights? Do you have father-daughter dates, mother-daughter dates? Like, what is your intentionality? And I think when there is fun on the calendar, I think that just keeps things going in my mind because I'm like, yes, you can work till the day you die because there's always going to be one more soul to reach. But the most famous place that I desire to be is in my household.
Hmm.
And that's where I want to be known. And it's not, it doesn't matter if my kids get into college, it matters if they get into heaven.
Yep.
And I think this is where it starts. Like, I think the reason the Bible talks about, like, get your house in order. If your house is not in order, then you have no business leading the church. You have no business starting a ministry. You have no business starting a business, you know? So it's like, really, like, is my house in order? Like, is my soul in order? And am I walking with the Lord? Are we good? Like, is our
Yeah.
physical
Yeah.
house in order? Like, are we leading each other and our children well? Or are they getting thrown to the wayside just because we think we're famous out there, but they don't know who we are in our home? So I would just think about that, setting goals, keeping the main thing, which is Christ at the center of it all. And there's inventory along the way. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're in a season where you're like, all these things are thriving, but it's like, we got to pull over. We got to have some roadside assistance that we got to take care of, whether it's me and Josiah, whether it's direction of the ministry, whether it's the growing aspects of the ministry, whether it's a new developmental phase of our children, whether it's school choices, whatever that is in our future. I think it's okay, like, as a leader, to pull over on the side of the road. That's not giving up. It's just saying, like, we need like a picnic. We need a break. We just need a personal timeout, whatever you want to say there, because we want to end, we want to begin with the end in mind. And I think there's going to be lots of stations. Like, if you're a runner or a marathon runner, if you've done any ultra marathons or beyond, there are plenty of emergency tents along the way. There are plenty of water stations along the way that are there to help you, but help you finish. And this is just a minor timeout. So I think of longevity as like, yep, we might need to pull over for a while, or maybe I'm in a season of no for a while because of being a mom and that's pulling at me. But it's not me giving up on the dream. It's saying, how do I extend myself grace and pace myself as a mom, as the calling, without losing the main thing, which is Jesus at the center of it all. So it's not putting your identity in your calling, it's putting your identity in Christ. So I was all over the place, but that was my brain for a second.
Incredible. Dom, back to you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Yeah, I think it was actually pretty recent. My grandpa said this to me. He said, "Don't stress the little things in life, and most things are little things." And so it kind of just gave me a broad. We were like kind of stressing over something. He's like, "Don't stress over the little things." And all there's a lot of things that we think are big things, but in reality, they're little things. So
That's
that's been
good.
on my mind for a while now.
That's good.
Saw a reel posted by Gary V, and he said that he thinks that people kind of have life backwards right now
Mm,
because instead of being grateful for what they have, they're worried about what they don't have.
That's good.
And, that really struck a chord with me. What you just said of not stressing the little things and really to be thankful for what we do have instead of
yeah.
concerned about what we don't have.
Yeah.
That's so good. All right, we got the fifth question. So our fifth and final question. If you could leave the listener with one piece of encouragement, Dominic, what would you want to leave them with today?
Yeah, I think this whole concept is taken out of James 1, but I just said whatever is causing a struggle in your life right now, because we're all going through struggles, we're all going through hardship, know that God is producing something in you from that struggle that you
Yep.
may have not had. In James, it talks about it producing perseverance. In the Greek, it means patient endurance. And so there's something being produced in you that or wasn't there before. So use the struggle and see that God's working through it.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Ryan Leake had posted recently, or I heard him say that if you're going through a dark season, take notes. Take notes for your friends in the dark
Good.
Mm.
because it can maybe be like a flashlight to somebody else and lines up with what you just shared in James. Dominic, we're grateful for you. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Yes.
And you are such an incredible part of the team. God's hand is on your life. We're really
Mm.
grateful for you, man.
Grateful for you guys as well. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And you're listening today to the Young Adults Today podcast. Hey, everybody, this is Micah Kennealy again with the Young Adults Today. If you are loving the Young Adults Today podcast, you are going to love the FYI podcast. If you're between the ages of 18 to 30, we come alongside those people who are longing to get some of those questions answered about adulting, life, faith, finances, and so much more. So tune in. You can give us a direct message. If you are between the ages of 18 to 30, have some amazing questions. We want to point you not only to Christ, but to the Word of God and Scripture that can hopefully help navigate some of those big questions that you are currently up against.
Micah and I often say here that this isn't just a podcast or a conference. This is a community, and welcome to being a part of the Young Adults Today community. 2 ways that this year you can get plugged in deep and fast. First of all, come to the Young Adult Weekend, May 16th through 18th in Alexandria, Minnesota at Lake Geneva Camp. There'll be hundreds of young adults going after Jesus in worship, growing together in godly community. Vince Parker from Life Church with Craig Rochelle will be our speaker, as well as Emmanuel Live is going to be leading us in times of worship. There's going to be breakout sessions, free time. It'll be really an amazing time, and it won't be the same without you there. So bring your young adults and your ministry. We'll see you May 16th through 18th. You can sign up in the podcast description. Go to youngadults.today/the-WKND, and it's for the weekend. Then also, June 5th and 6th, join us at Mariners Church in Irvine, California for the West Coast Leaders Conference. This is our 3rd year in a row doing this event, and this is an amazing community of young adult ministry leaders from across the U.S., but especially from the West Coast. We'll be visiting Thursdays at Mariners, which is a couple thousand young adults lifting up the name of Jesus, glorifying God on Thursday nights. It's their weekend service and young adult service at Mariners Church as a part of the conference. There's a special experience for you. We will have an amazing conference, but again, space is limited, so be sure you sign up at youngadults.today/west-coast-conference, and the link to do so is also in the podcast episode description.